Yeah. Wait, so you think there's never been like a 10 out of 10 manga? That's a good attitude. Anyway, so this is Read the Manga podcast, episode 15, I believe. This is going to be our third part of our Rurouni Kenshin series. Corey here, looking very Kenshin-esque with this ponytail. So today we're going to be covering Rurouni Kenshin, the third arc, which is the Jinchu arc. When we last left off, Kenshin was he had just defeated Shishio, coming back to Tokyo, and up until this point, we haven't really learned much about Kenshin himself or his past. We've kind of just seen his actions reflected through the eyes of others. And in this arc, there's this guy from his past that comes back. That wants revenge on him, specifically Jinchu, which specifically means revenge of a personal matter rather than revenge of the heavens, and he's trying to get revenge on Kenshin for the death of his sister back in Kenshin's Hitokiri Bitosai days.
Not just the death of his sister, but that was Kenshin's wife. It's his brother-in-law.
Yeah. So it's his brother-in-law coming back for some revenge.
I want to make a note that I felt that the Kyoto arc ended pretty much like the author could have walked away from the series and it would have been fine. And I mean that specifically as when I went back to reread the Jinchu arc, I started a little bit before the end of the Kyoto arc leading into it. And I just felt like the end of the Kyoto arc, the way he ended it, it was like, all right, everything's going to be okay. And it was kind of like my second going back. I kind of realized the brilliance in the Jinchu arc.
All right, I'm glad you came around.
I didn't like it as much at first. Like I was like, it was fine. You could end it. Now I'm like, no, it's like an extra story, a ridiculous extra story. I'm cool
yes.
with
it. If this was a 3-act play, I honestly think the Jinchu arc is a fantastic third act, and like I'm actually gonna go out.
I like that
here.
the play thing that kind of ties in more the romance part of the series.
Yeah, and there's actual romance in this arc. We get his romantic relationship with this woman Tomoe,
which
Kenshin fucks.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's an interesting thing, though. Is like we finally get some
makes a fucking baby at the end of this arc.
Well, I mean, like,
remember Kenji? He was so adorable.
Oh yeah, little Kenshin,
little Kenji.
For for what was it? Next Generation, Rurouni Kenshin. That was a series that followed this about his son learning from Yahiko.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like the punching guy comes back and he's just like, my fist recovered and I found an alien rock and now I'm Green Lantern. No. But
wait,
no.
You're talking about Sanosuke, right?
Yeah, Sanosuke. God.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like he was. I remember as a kid, I loved the crap out of him because I thought he was so cool. Like, oh, I'm a rebel and I have a big sword. I don't need the big sword. I punch things. And then like you reread it as an adult and you're just like, dude literally runs into battle and is like, please, somebody who doesn't use a katana. Bow staff? Good enough. All right.
Yeah. Well, dude, he brings the sword back this arc. Remember in that fucking battle?
Yeah, like
he
that.
Gets the fucking sword.
That's what I love
again.
about this arc too. Is I was like, yeah, this is literally like he finished what he felt like he needed to do emotionally. I felt with Shishio. And this was like everything that he wanted to do. And what really made me appreciate this more is you filling me in earlier. Like when we talked earlier today, you filled me in on how he was like, all right, so the gold mining guy ended up becoming like Venom, Carnage, all that. And like his pure amount of disappointment with how that character came out. And like, I was reading.
Watsuki is very self-deprecating.
Yeah, I was
as a manga artist.
I was going through the wiki and, another part of it was like he was sitting there and he's just like, dude, just a brother-in-law alone, like Anishi, is it Anishi?
Anishi.
Yeah, just him alone was a good enough villain. And he said like in hindsight, he would have just made him a Terminator-esque villain. Like somebody went and
Yeah.
beat up all, and I was like, dude, like I'm not even trying to blow my own smoke, but I was like, just the fact, like even the scenes, like if you removed all the side characters from this arc and just had
Wait,
that.
wait, wait. Can I clarify what you're talking about a little bit?
Okay, sure.
So, what Watsuki basically said with this villain, he fucked up because he ended up having a posse like Shishio did, and he was like, no, Anishi wouldn't do that. Anishi would fucking like barrel through like the fucking like killer of vengeance that he is, and just terminate his way through all of fucking Kenshin's subordinates, just like the way Kenshin did to Shishio when they had that raid on fucking Shishio's like mansion or whatever. Like Anishi would have like gotten through every single one of Kenshin's guys by himself and then eventually fought Kenshin at the end, rather than have this fucking whole fucking coalition of dudes at his disposal.
Yeah, that's why, like, if you imagine just him taking the place of, his cadres,
Mm-hmm.
like it makes the whole arc like way more intimidating when it leads to the finale.
Yeah.
Even when he does
Okay.
crazy gambits and all that. But like, I don't know. That's
So
something I appreciate, but that's
I
neither
agree
here.
with that
That's neither
completely,
here nor there, right? We're talking
but
about what's there.
yeah, and I agree with that completely. But my thing is like, this is one of my huge unpopular opinions about this arc. But I think his six comrades are a lot fucking cooler than Shishio's 10 swords.
Well, I mean, like,
I mean, like Shishio's 10 swords, you got fucking uh fuck, I can't remember the really fast guy. What was his name again? Seda. You have Seda, you have Usui, you have some really cool members, but then you have some fucking lame ones like the fucking flying guy and the giant and shit. I feel like all around the group of villains in this arc is a lot more solid
well,
than it was in Shishio's arc.
one of the guys apparently in the six comrades was a guy who
Mm-hmm.
was in the Shishio arc, the
Yeah,
puppet
and he was a
guy.
lot lamer then.
Yeah,
He's a lot cooler now that we know that he's a fucking puppet master, and that was just his puppet.
yeah, but it's like those kind of character reveals. Those are interesting. Also, I've never really, I haven't used a wiki page on a laptop in a long time. I've mostly used mobile, so it's always fun to just see like, oh hey, Rurouni Kenshin just has Kenshin's ass all
Wait,
across.
what?
If you go on the Kenshin fandom, it's just him
Yeah.
sitting with his back to you.
Oh, yeah, that's his bum.
Yeah,
It's his booty cheeks. You'd think practicing Heaton Mitsurugi and having to do so much footwork, he'd develop a more firm buttocks.
no, that's perfectly fine. It's just
He's
you
he's
you
he's
would
he's
expect people.
he's rocking some Hank Hill ass.
Well, I would disagree. My thing, I think it's the opposite. How do people even like not notice him sneaking up on him with the clapping of his ass cheeks?
Well,
Let's see.
you think he's filled out in the behind region?
For a Japanese dude back then, yeah, he's doing the best he can with what he
I guess
got.
so. I mean, okay, so the guys Kenshin, I think canonically is 5'3". You know who is 5'3" and has an amazing ass? Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson.
Do you think he'd do a shout
Ken,
out for this podcast?
honestly, dude, I didn't even look him up. He might be on
Oh
Cameo.
man, if he did a shout out for this, like if he liked Kenshin, that'd be cool. I'd
Yeah,
even do a
I'm sure
series
he
like if he
does.
recommended a series, I'd recommend him Blaster Knuckle. I mean that in all
Honestly,
seriousness, you know.
I mean, I met him once. Maybe he remembers me. I'll be like, "Hey, you were at that Asian restaurant. I was your server.
I remember every
Could you
moment
could
with
you could
every
you get on our
person I've ever
podcast,
met.
please?"
Huh?
Yeah,
Don't you
yeah.
know who the Dark Mouse is?
The Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, see? Like,
Anyway, enough talk about UFC fighters. Let's talk about the fucking Jinchu arc.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's the thing though.
well, okay. So if you could rank Kyoto, Tokyo, and Jinchu, where do you rank them?
Probably in the order of they well, I guess I like Kyoto a little bit more than Tokyo, but honestly I like Tokyo a lot. It was more close to home, more down to like individual people versus individual people for
Mm-hmm.
individual reasons. Like, you know, what's funny is the Jinchu arc kind of cements that more. Like Kenshin kind of roughly runs into, like, it shows his background and how he knows
So you
these
think
guys.
you think Jinchu's the weakest?
I feel like Jinchu made me like Tokyo more, and
Okay.
that put Tokyo higher. Kyoto just sits where Kyoto is because it's just like, well, that's like everybody knows Rurouni Kenshin because of Kyoto arc. Um,
So
like
can, can
like
I
I
can I
like I'm
get?
one of those people where if you ask me what my favorite part of Bleach would be, I'd say like the
Mhm.
beginning part where like Renji and Byakuya were the bad guys, and that was it.
Okay.
Like I would say like if they would have like kind of coasted and just took a break for a minute, took a deep breath and go like how big do we want this to get? Then like then went into the crazy Soul Society stuff, like I would have been, happy. But I was one of those people where I was like, like I really like the stuff leading up to Soul Society, and then Soul
Mhm.
Society, and then stuff
Interesting.
kind of got different. And I and
See,
I
I
and it
thought I thought Soul Society was almost a perfect arc. Like the entire Soul Society like
I
arc,
need
I
I
thought
need to
was
go back to
fantastic.
it because I never actually got a chance to experience it fully because I mostly watched Soul Society late at night. Well, I'm not gonna diss how I watched it. I mean, being like a teenager watching that and like Bleach being that show on Adult Swim when you're like like 11, 12, 13. I don't know, like watching that, it's just like this is so different. Like you know, it's
Well,
not
if
ninjas and it's not robots. It's like this dude who just is trying, but it's like, you know, it had this like edginess to it. Whereas like with Kenshin, when I watched that, which I will be biased too. Like I watched Kenshin when I watched Inuyasha. That was middle school.
Mhm.
Like Bleach came like a year or two after. Back in the day, though, a year or two is like a lot of time versus now. Um,
Yeah.
But it was like with Kenshin, it was just like dun 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 dun,
Well, oh no, no,
and
okay.
and then it's like
So
that's why like
so first of all, Freckles is a fucking
I
banger.
love that song.
So
I love
like,
that song.
yeah, no, it's
How do you
fucking
think I just
fantastic.
did
That
it
fucking
so
like,
well just now? But what I'm trying to say is like, uh, you know, uh, as Kenshin had this thing where it's like he, Oro, like he's such a dorky guy,
Oral?
and this is like one of the weird episodes where what we're doing is something where it's like it would be like if we did Full Metal Alchemist, but if Brotherhood didn't exist. So like,
Yeah.
this is a whole part, and it's one of those things
We're
where
talking we're talking about an arc that never got animated. So this is a true read the manga.
yeah, well it got animated in the OVA. Like you were telling me that it was the
Well, yeah,
OVA.
the flashback got animated.
Yeah, but it was like the Remembrance OVA. So you had to,
Mm.
I don't know, see like search for it or go to Big Lots and find a DVD. I feel like that's the thing. I feel like if you want to find this arc, you go to Big Lots and you look in the bin that had a bunch of anime DVDs in it, and it'd be one of the $2 DVDs in it. It'd be like, did you need did then you did or
Jinchu.
Jinchu,
Jinchu.
Jinchu.
But yeah, fucking personal vengeance rather than vengeance from the heavens, which was what the Ishin Shishi was doing. But okay, so can I give you my kind of like overall impression of this arc?
What would be your overall impression?
So, before I reread it, I thought it was the weakest arc. Um, After rereading it, I think it's the best arc, and here's
Oh
why.
wait.
Um,
You asked me to rank my arcs in order. What is your
yeah,
list?
yeah. I'll give you my overall impression, but for me, it's each arc is better than the last. So Jinchu, Kyoto, Tokyo, but I think each arc feeds into each other and works because of the other arcs around it, and here's why. So Tokyo, obviously a great fucking introductory arc. It has multiple plot lines going on with all of these different fucking characters. You get to know everybody. It's a great introductory arc. It introduces the Oniwa Banshu, introduces a lot of concepts that'll come up later. Perfect introduction. Kyoto has this all-encompassing villain at the center of it, which is Shishio. And Shishio's got so much personality to go around that you kind of get sucked into the arc because of how compelling of a villain he is. and because of Saito Hajime. Saito Hajime is also like so cool in that arc, and he's introduced there. But anyway, the interesting thing about Jinchu though is that um, it is so much about Kenshin as a character in a way that we had never explored him before. So much of how we explored Kenshin in Tokyo and Kyoto was through other people's eyes and other people's views of him. We have the view of the Batosai from Saito Hajime. We have the review of the fucking dorky Oro Kenshin from um, Kamikaru. We have the fighting Kenshin from Sanosuke. We have all of these different views of who Kenshin is. Um, Jinchu is Kenshin is in his own words. Jinchu is Kenshin sitting there with all of his newfound friends and being like, "I'm going to be open for you, or open with you for the first time, and tell you about who I am, and tell you about my past, and tell you about what forged me." And I feel like that is what is so compelling about Jinchu. I feel like that flashback with uh, what was his wife's name again? It was
Tomoe.
Tomoe, yeah. All of that entire flashback is the best thing Watsuki has ever written. And I think the rest of that arc feels weaker in comparison. One, because obviously Watsuki didn't really know what he's doing and let it go off the rails a little bit. And two, because I don't think Anishi is supposed to be the overpowering villain that Shishio was. I think Anishi is supposed to be kind of a weak villain because we don't want him pulling the focus off of Kenshin. This is about the completion of Kenshin's arc. This is about 15 years of development of who he is and coming to terms with his own past and being okay with who he is and who he's decided to become and the people around him, and finally opening himself up to people and actually fucking committing to his own philosophy and training the next generation of samurai. This is all about Kenshin's own personal psyche, and it's not really supposed to be about the villain. And I think that's one of the huge reasons why the villain in this feels so weak compared to Shishio, because it's not really about Anishi. It is about Kenshin, and this is the first arc that is about Kenshin.
Yeah, like they you have the guy who got his arm cut off by Kenshin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like Kenshin literally disarmed him. And
Yeah.
that man viewed it as like a punishment because he wanted a warrior's death.
Yes.
And what I can't remember his name. He was a guy with a big gun.
It's a whale mouth.
Yeah. The interesting design characters that Watsuki was going for, which I liked him. Like I like his character designs, honestly. Like,
Me too.
but that's a thing that I think like was like when I went back and kind of thought about it, and it definitely was just like I always complained about how Karo was portrayed as just kind of a
Mm-hmm.
a plot device to a certain degree kind of character, especially in the Jinchu arc. She's treated essentially as a
Yeah.
MacGuffin, but
Yeah. She's kind of there to like hold over Kenshin's head to be like she's essentially just a tool to fucking push Kenshin to the edge.
which
Like
which
her
which
her
I
death doesn't really
initially
mean much.
I initially thought that in my first reading because I
Mhm.
was like, oh well, of course she's going to be deliberated to that role, and then I realized I
Mhm.
was like, Watsuki's not writing this plot. His brother-in-law is. His
Wait,
brother-in-law,
what?
like by definition, by Anishi's plan, it
Uh-huh.
is to take what Kenshin feels dear and do the most horrid things to him, which was like the whole killing. And I thought the whole like replacing her with a robot thing was weird because like
That was weird.
okay, like all right, so it's funny. You think that's weird, and then you read it in Batman, like
Hmm.
Red Hood. Oh, but I thought Jason Todd was in the thing all along, and it's like, oh, apparently DC Comics means Detective Comics. They're named after you, bro, and you couldn't figure out that was a robot body instead of a dead person in a box. I'm pretty sure a robot and a dead person would smell different. And even then, there's a lot of factors like you check. And in a
Yeah.
world full of superpowers and stuff, you'd want to
Well,
check.
didn't well, okay. I know you're talking about Red Hood, but talking about just Rurouni Kenshin,
But
didn't he
but
make
but
no, wait, I want to finish my point. Didn't he make Karu's body out of like dead body parts? Didn't he make that robot out of human flesh? Like he actually designed it to like resemble fucking human beings, and he made it out of dead people. I might be misremembering it, but that's how I remember him doing it.
I'm gonna say that I'm gonna give the author a break, like
Mm-hmm.
just be like, all right, well, maybe the person somehow was able to Frankenstein together something that looked like her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but that's the thing. Like, this author, like, he sits there and goes, "Oh man, I fucked up really bad. I shouldn't have made this guy look like Spider-Man, Venom, and all that." And I think that's like fine. I'm like, dude, that's fine. That's fine. Don't worry. It's just one of those things where it's like, sometimes like you're thinking you're watching like a period piece, and then some random like mecha shit comes out of nowhere, and you're fine with
Yeah.
that, but only for 3 minutes, and it disappears, and then it's just like, all right,
So I have
because
a
the word
just
romance implies like certain things, like romance for a definite. Like, I'm not trying to diss this guy, but I'm just saying like romance is kind of like spaghetti western. This is like a
okay.
romance story about a roaming samurai. So romance, like probably like enjoyment. I don't know. I want to know what he means by romance with that, because I've heard romance used in other fiction. You know.
Well, I think we kind of talked about that a bit on the last episode about Meiji era romantic tale can mean a lot of different things.
Okay.
Like it can mean the romance of the period, the romance of the lost era of the samurai that's being destroyed by the Industrial Revolution. It could mean like literal romance, as in the romance between Kenshin and Karo or Kenshin
So
and
so the
Tomoe.
mere concept of
It's
like
got a lot of
heavy
different meanings.
emotion and maybe like
Yeah, it's romance as in emotion attached to an era, a group of people, or an individual person. I think it can mean all three of those.
I feel like I got the most of that from this arc. It felt like
Yeah, that's
Kenshin.
why I think it's the best
I,
arc.
like, and that's the thing. Like I told you, I first read it, I was like, "This is all right." Then I started writing about it, double checking it, and I was like, "God, this honestly, like, what was he doing?" And then I went back, and I was just like, "This is great." It literally is like having fun and seeing the extent you could take your world and what you could do with it, and like not only that, like create a character that could actually test your protagonist in an interesting way, which I think Inishi actually did
Yeah.
test Kenshin in a very interesting way, which was like he said he wanted to write a Terminator character for that arc, and Kenshin was that Terminator character. Like, that's my thing. It's like Inishi essentially thought I could create a cavalcade of bad guys that could test him, and Kenshin couldn't beat it. Even though the author was like, what if he went and beat up all of Kenshin's friends? It's like, well, that's not the point of Kenshin, though. Like, Kenshin is a guy who goes and beats up everybody else's friends and then beats them up.
Well, yeah, Kenshin. I think that's one part of Watsuki's writing that's kind of genius is that Kenshin is the greatest samurai in this series. Skill for skill, he is number
Because he's
one.
not going to put his
Except
friends
I
at risk. He's going to be like, I'll just go kick their
well,
asses first.
but here, but it's interesting in the way that the way he makes the battles interesting is because Kenshin is always fighting at a disadvantage. He's always either physically injured or mentally compromised or
Yeah,
both.
it's kind of like
So there's
stand
always
battles from JoJo's.
yeah,
Like, it's always like he has to use mental prowess along with
yeah.
the physicality, which
Kenshin is the guy in the UFC that goes into every fight injured but wins the championship anyway.
or like it's like like Batman. A lot of Batman comics are written around that. Like, oh shit, I gotta deal with this. Good thing
Well,
I
yeah,
have
you got
this.
to cripple the main. When you have an invincible main character, you have to cripple him a little bit beforehand so that the battle that he fights is interesting.
Exactly,
And
the
in
battles are
both
pretty
fights with
deserving, like
Anishi,
puzzles for the reader to figure out how
yeah,
the character is gonna deal with it, and
yeah,
whether they
and
could
and
assume what's gonna happen or. No, I don't know. Do you feel
In the
that
first,
like
feel what?
some authors kind of like like Tagashi, he likes to kind of leave some puzzles like in front of you for you to
Well,
solve.
Takashi's all puzzles.
Yeah, same with Oda. Well, Oda's not quite puzzles. He's just like, oh, you didn't notice the references, huh? But
Are we talking about battles or the writing specifically?
well, both. Like just examples either or of just some of the other guys we enjoy and we notice we pick up. I'm just talking about other guys we pick up stuff like this for. Like for
Mhm.
Rurouni Kenshin, like there's stuff that you could pick up on, and like the whole guy popping up from Shishio's arc to the next one. Like I know that was pretty
The
obvious, but
the blonde haired guy.
yeah,
What's his name?
what was that?
The guy that was the
Oh,
douchebag
the
and like
multi-weapon
took the
guy.
baby hostage. Yeah.
I use every weapon.
Do
In
you remember his name?
I just know him as multi-weapon guy. Remember, I read all this in a week.
Oh, it's Cho. Cho. That's who it was.
Cho.
Yeah. Sawagejo Cho.
But like
They gave him a fucking southern accent in the English dub though. It's hilarious. He sounds like Bryce Mitchell.
I'm gonna come at you with my nunchaku, and then after that, I'm gonna slash you with the broadsword, maybe a
Yeah.
katana or
Yeah.
some sai or size.
Yeah, when he came on, I had to turn off the English dialogue and start watching the sub. I'm like, okay, I can't do this.
Yeah, see, that's the thing though. Is like, how else do you portray somebody who's literally just a weapon nerd though? Like you're trying to
Yeah.
portray them like I'm not saying people with southern accents, but I mean, I guess that's what people in other parts of the world view our South as the people who are like, well, my gun carries a gun because it has rights too.
Well, I mean, well, okay. So you think
And this accent,
the Japanese studio wasn't involved in doing the English dub. That was all just fucking white people being like,
oh yeah,
okay, he has a lot of weapons. Let's give him a fucking southern accent. Like, I don't know. That whole thing was dumb.
he
The
could
way
have
they
had an
dubbed it was
Okinawa
dumb.
accent, and they give people who have Okinawa accents southern accents. So whoever could have been the voice
Yeah.
actor in the original, I can't remember the
They're the
weapon.
Hicks of Japan.
Well, no, I mean the series that shall not be named that we will not do an episode of has a character who
Wait, which series are you talking
the
about?
one that you said we'll never do, Love Hina.
Yeah, we're probably gonna do Lafina.
Yeah,
Uh,
but Natsumi.
maybe
Natsumi,
eventually.
or is
But
it Natsuki?
Kitsune,
Is it Kitsu?
Kitsune, the girl with the short hair.
Silver,
She
right?
was Okinawan.
Yeah,
What?
but they give her a southern
Yeah.
accent in the dub because Okinawan,
Ugh.
when they're doing the Okinawa, it's like, oh well, it's like southern.
Yeah.
So she's all like, "Howdy, y'all," and you're just like, "Oh, boner, non."
Yeah. I would never watch the dub of Lavina.
That's the thing, though, is like if they didn't just stereotype Texan, like the person was like, "All right, I'll just talk like somebody who I knew from Texas or whatever." But that's not what they're looking for because media is not supposed to be accurate, or else it's boring. You like
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing I've noticed about anime is like you have to exaggerate some things as unfortunate as it is. Like like
Yeah.
I don't agree with it
Like
all the
how
time. I think it's super
they
dumb,
didn't they didn't actually have battle puppets in Meiji era Japan, believe it or not.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that earlier today. Like, you know, you're probably hoping like, all right, well, I looked up so many different sources. There's my thing. What's your definition of a battle puppet, sir?
My definition?
Yeah, how much do you know about puppetry?
Uh, I I mean, a battle puppet's just a soldier, isn't it?
No, that's a person.
I know. I was making a
But
joke.
a battle puppet would be pretty useless. Like honestly, if you're gonna be that
Well,
close to
okay.
a person, why would you use a puppet for anything?
So I know one of your big objections to this series is how it uses ridiculous technology and crazy shit in what's supposed to be a historic era Japan,
No,
and then
no,
never goes
it's
back
not
to it.
even. That's not even the issue outright. Like it is an issue. You're not wrong. My
Okay,
issue is like
but I have a
it. My
justification
my
for it.
issue is just like like you're strolling along and your friend's like, "Hey, this is an authentic Italian restaurant," or like it's not authentic Italian, but it's like an Italian restaurant, and then
Hmm.
you're looking down the menu and it's straight up like like spaghetti burger or some crazy crap. Like you're like, this is not part of the time. Like, okay, I
So
don't
I got 2 points
know.
on
Okay,
that.
okay.
My first point is look at steampunk. Look at retrofuturism. Look at using old school aesthetics, but still using futuristic technology that would never exist back then. That's a whole thing, and I feel like Rurouni Kenshin is playing into that a little bit, where the author is using his
Giant guy,
abilities as
giant guy.
is you. I know, no, no.
No, 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 super giant
Roll.
guy.
I'm rolling into this.
Okay.
He's using his abilities as a fucking shonen author to accept that things are going to be exaggerated and kind of write around that. Like he's not writing a strict historical fiction. There's tons of historical elements to it, but at the end of the day, it still has to fulfill the requirements of a shonen fighting manga. And I feel like those fantastical elements don't really feel all that anachronistic because you already expect that Rurouni Kenshin is going to be kind of ridiculous anyway, just because of like the idea of like Kenshin's so fast he can block bullets with his sword and shit like that. You already have superhuman elements in there. So like I feel like expanding on those and throwing in some other weird shit isn't really that far out of the bag for me. Like it doesn't really pull me out of it that much. The giant is probably the most egregious aspect of it out of everything, but like for most of it, like the puppetry and stuff that Gain is using, like I kind of like I felt that I was like, yeah, fine, like that's acceptable. Like using all of these different parts to construct this puppet that can like defeat Kenshin's sword fighting style, and like you operate it like manually from the inside. Like I didn't mind any of that. I thought that was pretty well developed in the context of the world that Watsuki's creating. Also, they actually had those.
Yeah.
Look up any Meiji era historical text. There's going to be pages and pages of battle puppets. Yeah,
Battle.
it was a
What
thing.
my daughter would call them battle wawas. Is that intimidating? Battle wawas. Bah. That's what she does. That's a wawa burping. Bah. I'll be like, Charlotte, you can't run down the stairs naked. That's inappropriate. She'll go, bah. I'll be like, that doesn't change anything.
We should probably explain that your daughter's 17.
Oh, she's 2. She turned 2 not too long ago. It's pretty awesome. I
Yeah.
train herself. Doesn't even need dad. I'm just pretty much here just for looks. I'm like an accessory. I'm a what was that? Like the dog in the purse. That's me.
Yeah, you're basically what Kenshin is as a father, where he's like playing with Kenji and he's like, I know he'll like me eventually, and Karu's just like, give it up.
I've seen some things. Not too crazy.
Yeah.
I saw a
Anyway,
giant guy and I saw a robot guy and I saw your mom as a robot dead. That was great. But no, honestly,
so,
like I think what was kind of fun about it was like I think his ending to the Shishio arc, the Kyoto arc, was just so good that like he could afford to kind of joke around a bit, and even joking around a bit, like it get like the art's still on point. Like I'm gonna be real, like I love the artwork.
the art's beautiful.
Yeah, like I'm never gonna argue against Watsuki's art. Like please come back, dude. I haven't heard you doing anything in a while.
Well, okay, you know why he's not doing
Why?
anything? Um,
Oh, don't tell me he's dead.
no, it's worse.
Oh, what?
So I've neglected to address this on the podcast because I didn't really think it was relevant. But in 2017, he got caught with a bunch of child porn on his computer.
Oh, oh. Do not do anything. All right. Well, from here on out, like, I'm going to be like, Busa Rankin, we're not doing that. Not because of the child
I
porn.
thought that was our next
No,
series.
no, no. You were saying Tokyo Ghoul.
No, you were
I
saying
just want to
Tokyo
make it
Ghoul,
clear
and
to
then you
everybody
changed it
on
5
here
times.
who's a Busa Rankin fan, like, we're not doing Busa Rankin, not just because, like, of that stuff.
There's no such thing as a Buso Renkin fan,
Yeah, for
Corey. They don't
real.
exist.
Okay, well, that was how we went to anime. The first anime club we went to,
Mm-hmm.
Moki, like Moki Moki, the Pokemon or
Yeah, the big
Yu-Gi-Oh
guy.
card. Moki,
Yeah, the big guy, right?
yeah, he was he was our, I guess, class or club leader or whatever, and Miss McCullough was our club teacher.
Wait, really?
Yeah, that was Miss McCullough's class.
Huh.
Yeah, and the first show we saw in there was Buso Rankin, and I was just like, this looks like Rurouni Kenshin, but like shittier Bleach. And
Yes.
there we go. That's my opinion on Buso Rankin. Shittier Bleach done by Watsuki. Rurouni Kenshin
So
though,
anyway,
that's a weird series though, because it's like up to the Shishio arc, really good. That's childhood. I would take that and I'd put it over Inuyasha. Because that was one of my first animes during the same timeline.
dude, I would put Buso Renkin over Inuyasha. That's not an accomplishment.
Well, let's see. The series that I watched at that time were Yu Yu Hakusho, Inuyasha, Trigun, and uh, you know, freaking Rurouni Kenshin.
But okay. So how much do we dislike? How much do people dislike the Jinchu arc because it wasn't animated? Because we don't have the nostalgia for it.
No,
Like that's
no
probably
way.
plays into it. Like if it had gotten an anime adaptation and aired on Toonami, we might be talking about it as highly as the Shishio arc, but we're not. And I think from the storytelling perspective, it might not be as strong, but there are parts in there that are like
It
necessary. Like
depends
you
on the
say that
fights.
no, but you say that it could have ended after the Kyoto arc, and I don't agree with that because there's a lot of shit unresolved with Kenshin. I think no matter what happened after the Kyoto arc, even if you throw away the rest of the Jinchu arc, we need the Tomoe flashback. That is integral for the entire arc of Rurouni Kenshin. We need that. We need to know why he doesn't kill anymore. We need to know what his past was, his wife, all of that shit. We need to know who Kenshin used to be. And I feel like if nothing else, if you hate every fucking aspect of the Jinchu arc, I understand that. But you have to acknowledge that that flashback was necessary. That we couldn't have ended the series without that.
From the way you make it makes it sound like if you didn't get those flashbacks, that even when he walked back up to the dojo at the end after being Shishio in a battle of wills and philosophies about why he doesn't kill, I feel like Shishio was a perfect character to complete that arc of why Kenshin doesn't kill. Especially since Kenshin never even had a chance to get violent and kill him. Like, Shishio took it upon himself to take that away from him. The writer lucked out
Yeah,
by being able. Shishio had 15 minutes and then he'd spontaneously combust and die because, like, of how
yeah,
much he would fight. The lady said that, you
yeah.
know.
Well, Watsuki took that kill away from Kenshin, but no, that's one of the
But,
reasons
but, but,
why I think that.
but,
Wait, Corey, you actually just you confirmed my point. That's one of the reasons why the Kyoto arc doesn't solve Kenshin's moral dilemma because it takes that need for Kenshin to kill away from him. It takes the agency away from Kenshin because Shishio goes past his limit and dies. Kenshin doesn't have the moral weight of having to kill Shishio, so it's like we haven't had his philosophy truly tested because of that. If it ends after the fucking Kyoto arc, we don't learn that much about
it's
Kenshin.
just sounding like you're saying like we don't. Okay, so like, damn it. Okay, so it's kind of funny because the whole background of
I
creating
stabbed
the
your
whole
point a little bit, didn't I?
not quite. It's just you open my point up, and now the true point's coming through. You know,
Like a beautiful butterfly.
yeah, like the blimp opened up, and now the spaceship's underneath, or the actual ship. So like, Batman doesn't kill, right? You know, not trying to compare Kenshin and Batman too hard, but it's just like one of those things where then we have the, you know, Anishi arc and all that. And I don't know why, like, I don't know. This is something I'm not trying to super hard compare. It was something that I kind of like felt when I was like reading Kenshin, and then after I speed read Kenshin, I read some Batman, and then back and forth.
Okay, just get to the point you're trying to make.
So it's kind of like interesting about the whole concept of like, how do we get a character who is absolved or not absolved? How do we get a character who is racked with guilt but also takes a genuine, uh, bound in honor oath that they will not kill? How do you put a character like, as an author, what route do you take that character? And it's like one of those things where it's like, do you push that character to their limits to see will they kill or not? And that's what I mean, where the Batman and the Kenshin thing comes in. Because like looking at Kenshin, it's like with the Anishi arc, it's like you'd think Kenshin would kill during the arc, like because it's like a parallel. Like here's his past, the girl he loved was murdered, this and that, and it's like tough. But then it just takes a different route with it, Like it just becomes like him trying to deconstruct why the guy went to take him through all of that. I don't know. I just feel like if the villain truly wanted to push Kenshin to the point, like he would have pushed him to the point to where he would have to kill someone. But then,
Well, that's why Anishi's incompetent. That's why he's not as interesting of a villain as Shishio. Because if he had killed Karu, he would have won. He would have destroyed Kenshin's psyche. But Anishi, yeah. If Karu had actually died, Kenshin would have stayed in that fucking shanty town with all the homeless people and just like died in his own fucking self pity. It was only the fact that Karu was alive that like got Kenshin up to like start
I
fighting
wanted to talk
again.
about
But
the shanty town
what?
just for
But
later. I
but that but
wanted to
that
talk about the
but
shanty town stuff.
yeah, but that speaks to kind of Anishi as a villain and how like as much as he wants revenge, he still can't bring himself to kill Karo because she reminds him of Tomoe. Like there's a lot to Anishi that isn't really explored, that's kind of just implied. And I think part of Kenshin's whole belief in not killing is because of people like Anishi, of people that aren't necessarily evil, but do evil things because they're so hurt. And I think that we see that Anishi isn't necessarily evil because of his unwillingness to kill Karu. It wasn't about killing Karu, it was about breaking Kenshin. And he couldn't bring himself to kill Karu and complete the job. If he had actually killed Karu, he would have won. And that kind of just proves Kenshin's philosophy right, that like killing doesn't really solve anything. It's never really the answer.
What
And I don't necessarily agree with Kenshin's philosophy. I'm more of a Saito Hajime guy, but I think the Jinchu arc is more kind of like solidifying the fact that yeah, like what Kenshin's talking about has some merit to it. And if Kenshin would kind of like I don't know where I'm going with that, but I guess all I was saying was that um, it, it, Nishi's lack of killing Karu just kind of proves him to be an incompetent villain and further solidifies why the arc itself is about Kenshin and not really about Anishi, and why the villain in that arc doesn't really matter. And that's why people fucking hate that arc a lot. But it's like he's not Shishio, but he's not supposed to be.
That's a thing. Like, honestly, I think Watsuki had a great idea going. Revenge for Kenshin's ex-wife,
Mm-hmm.
brother-in-law, Terminator
Mm-hmm.
style. I
Mm-hmm.
think honestly, instead of killing Karo, what if he like targeted Yahiko? I don't want you to go through the same thing I did. I'm gonna save you two from him. Blah blah. He does his own thing. He tries to dissuade people from him, destroy the reputation Kenshin's had and built. Like that would have been,
That would have been interesting.
yeah. And he I think honestly, I feel really bad for the author because I feel like if he actually would have came out with Kenshin nowadays in a digital landscape, kind of like how Murata does a One Punch Man, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
at the time of quality, like Murata has no time frames from what I've heard. Like he works really hard and he gets shit out really quick. But from what it looks like chapters of One Punch Man come out in varying lengths at varying times. It's all about per quality. Same with Tagada. So I feel like
Mm-hmm.
Kenshin, if it when it came out nowadays, or if he would have ended it on the Shishio arc back then, and then nowadays got a reoccur like a resurgence and started it nowadays and was able to take the time to build on like a lot of these things instead of just making it a weekly thing. I feel like it could have been established and built up later.
Okay, so I have a question for you, and I want you to elaborate on this as
Oh
much
wait,
as
wait, wait.
possible.
I have Zach. Can we pause it for 1 second or one
Yeah,
minute? I just need to go
yeah.
to the
What do you got to
bathroom
do?
real quick.
Go for it.
All right, thank you.
I'm not gonna pause. I'll just keep talking. Yeah. Fuck. Can I pause on this thing? No, it doesn't look like I can. Fuck. I'm probably gonna edit this out. But Corey needs to fucking figure out to go to the bathroom before the podcast starts. I told him this before. Oh, yo.
I'm good. Thank you.
All right, we back in.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So I have this question for you though.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you ended it at the Shishio arc, do you think the flashback is necessary? Do you think you need that in the story?
I mean, honestly, like after the Shishio arc is good. It's not the end of the
Mm-hmm.
story.
But no, you were the one that were saying to end it after the Shishio arc.
I mean, like the way book ended it, you could have ended it there without having like a lot of the extra stuff that was just kind of absurd and kind of dragged other characters out.
But
I
do you need to have the flashback there at some point?
I mean, it depends on your version of how you view the series of Kenshin. If it's more about
That's why I'm asking you.
because like
Do
on
you need
one,
it there personally?
like personally, if I were looking at it and I was just like, I'm watching season one, season two, just like I did, or rereading those parts, I'd be like, okay, well, it's about a guy who did a lot of shitty stuff and just trying to get past it. It's a goofy, serious journey, and he has to deal with some stuff, and yeah. And I feel like the third arc kind of takes that and presses it more back into your face. Like, it's one thing to have somebody who is walking around saying they're your replacement and they're going to take over the country. So that kind of like causes the guy who he replaced to look really bad, which is Kenshin. Also, like, all the other stuff Shishio did. Like the whole Shishio arc has that's a different episode. You click that way. Um, but with a Jinchu arc, like it's one of those things where I enjoyed it. It was funky. It was fresh. It was weird. It felt like a an extra story.
The
So
flashback.
the Tomoe flashback.
Yeah,
I mean, like
but it didn't feel like it was integral to the core story of Rurouni
no.
Kenshin.
Sometimes you have
You
characters.
think you think you could understand everything you need to understand about Kenshin without that flashback?
Have you never watched like a movie from the '80s where it's just about a cop that walks in and they're just like, "Oh, you're Jack Jackson, the guy." And he's just like, "Yeah, I was that guy till I took my ex-wife's maiden name, Jackson."
Yeah,
And it's just like,
but
yeah,
that's
here's the and I felt like Kenshin was kind of cool in that because it was just like this kind of like you could have had like a Kurosawa do a movie where it's just a lone samurai going into a town, being goofy, getting into slapstick humor, and then getting into a serious fight, and then solving it, and kind of
those are two different formats. Whereas, like, I understand in a 2 hour movie that you're not going to include a flashback like that, but I feel like for a long running shonen manga where you've invested so much in this character and who he is, I feel like the flashback is necessary because, like, there's so much unanswered stuff about who Kenshin is by the time the Kyoto arc
I
resolves.
get you have like an entitlement as a reader, but you have to think about how like even characters within the same series as him, like in the same world, people who are personally close to him don't even get the same stories told to them. I think that's part of the allure. The moment Yahiko
Mhm.
hears a story from him, or Sanosuke, or Karo, those are significant to us as a reader because they're significant to him as an individual because those are things that he doesn't want to talk about to anybody. Those are war
Mhm.
stories. Those are things where it's
Yeah.
like, I know what it looks like for a guy to be split in half this way and see how his organs function from two separate parts. Like, Kenshin's seen things, and I feel like Watsuki kind of does a really good job on that. And I feel like
Yeah,
it's not a
but I think
mystery.
I
I
think
think it's not a mystery so much as it's a respect because like a lot of
yeah,
the series is
but
about like
you're arguing.
we all had this really horrible experience. We're trying to move past it. And then and I'm not trying to argue it. I'm saying there like Kenshin.
You're arguing for my point, though.
Well, no, I'm helping you out. I don't know. I'm not arguing
No,
for
no,
it.
no. That's
What I'm trying to say is
okay.
like that's why characters like like the assassin guy. I can't remember his name exactly. Lord, the ninja guy with the two swords who avenges
Aoshi.
Naoshi or Aoshi. Yeah, like he's interesting because like he brings up stuff like it's about the power of technique and the right of the strong. And then there's our favorite pool playing guy, who's just like, well, it's all about just beating down the riffraff and keeping order. It's all about like strength. Of course, like all that. Kenshin's obviously the goat because he beats everybody using like a dull sword. But what I find interesting about it is like the fact that it's like the point is all these characters try to pull him back in. You know, like a bolt, like an arrow on a bow. I feel like it's a Jincho arc where you think he's really gonna fly, and he doesn't. And I think that's why it's disappointing, but it's also awesome because you think like
Well,
you think
I
after
guess.
this guy has pulled him to this point, we'll see Kenshin go Samurai X, and he doesn't because he
See,
fulfilled his
I
role.
never thought that for a second. I thought if it was going to kill people, it was going to be in the Shishio arc. I don't think Jinshu's about
Karo
that.
having a sword in her chest. That's like a lot of different video games and series like level like the characters like event horizon happens like no now it's revenge. This is personal.
But no, no,
Revenge.
no, no. So the point is proven by the shanty town that that's not where Kenshin's mind is. Kenshin's so stuck in a place where like he
The
knows that
chain
revenge
sword
is
was
futile,
awesome.
that when he thinks Karu is dead, he just wallows in his own self pity in the shanty town because that's all he can do. He's so committed to his philosophy of not killing that he's not looking for any revenge. He just is like my life is over now. Like the person I loved is dead. I don't know what else to
But
do.
when he finds out there's a hope that she might not be.
Yeah, and it doesn't. He never once considers killing the guy. Like by the time of the Jinchu arc, his philosophy is so set that you never question whether he's going to break it or not. We've seen him tested beforehand, and Jinchu. I guess Jinchu's not really about that. It's more about him trying to reach through to somebody else and be like, okay, this is why trying to get revenge is fucking stupid,
It's like
and accepting his own past and accepting that his wife essentially basically accepting responsibility for what he did. That's what it is, even though it wasn't his fault.
I don't know why. I just get Kira vibes for the third arc. From like the shanty town to the confirmation, like the confrontation with the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but this is probably like very light, but it just kind of gives me Akira vibes. Like from our Akira episode, I get kind of like similar feeling. I don't know why. Well, I guess it's the whole
Mm-hmm.
concept of like the being at an absolute point of like no return, a low, and then there's like some kind of hope or something. More from the manga, I guess, because the main character disappeared for a bit and came back. That was weird. I don't know. I don't know why it gives, but same feeling, the same vibe is what I'm trying to get at. Like the third
Okay.
arc of Kenshin gives me some weird vibe where it's just like it's the plot we know, but it's just like kind of out of sync in a way to where even the characters like seeing Kenshin just withered away with his chained up sword and like the no man's land, like all the outside folks, the outsiders. And then you get to like the point where everybody's trying to pull him back in, like, hey, your girlfriend's actually a dead robot. She's still alive, and your brother-in-law has her. But it's like not
Mm-hmm.
even that. It's like not even just her death. It's like the revelation that like after everything he's done up to the Shishio arc, he can't escape his past. I think is the problem, and I think that's like
Yeah. Well, okay, so Jinchu he's gotten to this point where when you get to the beach scene, the whole point of Jinchu, I think, is Kenshin accepting the life that he's created for himself in this new era, and accepted that the folks of the Kamiya Kashin Ryu are no longer just acquaintances, and that they have become his close friends and confidants, and that he is no longer a wandering samurai, and that he's found a place to root himself, and accepting that he can do that and not have to go through the fear of losing Karu like he did to Moe. And that's why Anishi's able to break him, because him losing Karu is like a flashback of him losing to Moe, and it basically destroys everything that he's tried to build of like rooting this new family that he has and being somebody that is like has all of these people around him. You know what? Do you know what I'm saying by that?
Yeah, essentially, he's just like, when you were an assassin guy, you killed my sister's fiance. And the only reason you guys know each other is because she was trying to get revenge on you for killing her fiance. And
Well,
through that,
that's
you inadvertently led to her dying because you tricked her into falling in love with you in some way. And
but no, no,
Kenshin,
no. You're no. That's not what I'm saying.
but no,
You're
that's what I
you're
mean. That's like Anishi's point of view, and Kenshin's just like,
that
look, like,
but I wanted you to respond to my point because I actually have like a point that I'm trying to make
okay,
here. So, what I'm saying is the life that he had with Tomoe. So, Kenshin was a person who didn't really have any attachments, was taken in by fucking the guy from Kamiya Kashinryu when he was a little kid. Trained in Kamiya, sorry, not Kamiya, Hiiten Mitsurugi. He was trained in Hiiten Mitsurugi, became a warrior, fought for this cause that he believed in. And then his relationship with Tomoe was the first time in his life that he had felt grounded, that he had felt like he had a family. You follow me?
yeah, I'm following you.
So flash forward to his life as a wanderer, as somebody who is perpetually going through the motions alone, afraid to lose people again. And he finally finds Kamiya Kashinryu. He finds Karu, Sanosuke, Yahiko, everybody. The Jinchu arc is about him establishing those roots and becoming okay with forming attachments again and falling in love with people and being like, this is where I belong. I'm no longer a wandering samurai. I can finally have a family here. And being able to love Karu without the fear of losing her like he did to Moe. And that's why Anishi was able to break him the way he did, because him killing Karu was essentially being like, hey, um, you're never going to be rooted. You're never going to find people that love you and that are safe and that you can protect. The world is always going to take that away from you, just like it did me. And he's basically not letting Kenshin have a happy life. And that's why, one, the flashback is so important, because it's not important that we learn as readers what Kenshin's past was. It's important that we acknowledge that Kenshin trusts these people enough to tell them about his past and trust them with his war stories and be like, this is what I went through and this is why I am who I am. And that's why the ending is so important, of when he's on the beach with Saito, Sanosuke, Aoshi, Misao, Karu, Yahiko, and Megumi, of like, he even goes so far as, like, throughout all of this time he had been the guy that had been taking the brunt of all of their pain and being the guy that goes into the front lines and takes all of the fucking hits. When they go onto the beach, he's like, look, I'm fucked up from my fight with Anishi and I need to rest a bit. I need you guys to take it from here. And he was able to put his trust in these people that he had found as his friends and be like, I know that you're capable enough to win this fight and survive. And I don't have to worry about your safety. And he was able to finally let that go from his hands of having to be the person that protects everybody and realize that the people that he loves are strong enough to protect themselves and that he can be safe with these people and that they can all protect each other. And I think that's what the Jinchu arc is about. It's about Kenshin finally acknowledging that Kamiya Kashinryu is his home, and he can finally, after 15 years, find a place where he can sit down, be with people who love him, be with people that he loves, and not have to worry about them dying.
So it's kind of like the first arc's like him getting to get to know the town, make friends. Second arc is
Yeah.
like them establishing that they're like, wow, Kenshin is a goat, the goat.
Mm-hmm.
Third arc is like, wow, being the goat isn't easy, but that's why he has friends. And that's kind of like,
Sure.
like
I yeah, I guess it's not so much the fact that he has friends, that like it's the point where
the
like
connections
those
and
fr-
the experiences and the relationships. Like one guy is,
it's not just the connections, it's the faith that the people that are around him can take care of themselves and he doesn't have to always bite the bullet for people and put himself in front of the sword to die for them. He knows that they are completely capable of surviving on their own, and he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. He
Yeah,
doesn't have to worry
Sanosuke
about
like
people.
straight up becomes like what, like a runaway criminal.
Yeah.
They're like, we never saw him again. He went on the run.
Mm.
That's what happened, right?
Yeah, he went on the run and then he kind of came back for a little bit because I think he's in the sequel. Because why wouldn't he be? Like he's Kenshin's best friend. But I don't know. Like the series means a lot to me. Hit me on a lot of emotional levels. There's a lot of thematic content there to be unpacked, I think, and I think we did a pretty good job of it. But
I think.
and also Sanosuke's dad is fucking awesome.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about like some of the side stuff like that, like Snowsuke's dad. And, like I also like Kenshin's teacher a lot. It was like, what
Yeah.
up? Oh, of course.
Well, he was in the last arc, but
Yeah. I mean, still, like, he didn't show up for this arc. Damn it. Man, that
no,
dude,
he
man.
didn't. It was cool.
Oh,
But Sanosuke's dad was cool because that was a whole thing. That was another thing about family and being uprooted and being a wanderer. Sanosuke's arc really mirrored Kenshin's in that way of like having no home and not having anybody you can lean on and essentially going about it yourself and being your own kind of wandering samurai. And I think the point of the ending of that series is that Sanosuke has a little bit more wandering to do before he can
well,
he can plant the way Kenshin has.
what I noticed about there was something that Watsuki did that was interesting, which it was like age staggering for his cast. So you
Mm-hmm.
had Kenshin at what is essentially 27 years old when it starts.
Well, yeah,
He's
Yahiko's 10, Sanosuke's 19, Kenshin's 28. They're all 9 years
yeah.
apart.
So it's implied that like, well, I mean, Kenshin when he left off after the war and stuff and became a veteran, he was like Sanosuke's age, right? When he stopped being
About
Batosai.
a little younger, probably like 17ish.
Yeah. So he stopped being the Batosai around Sanosuke's age. Sanosuke, you know, I think was a few years younger. Like he became enamored with his leader when he was Yahiko's age. When he was
Mm-hmm.
Yahiko's age, he found his hero. And then he became Sanosuke's age. So it's kind of interesting how Watsuki kind of staggers these ages and the timelines in which they meet certain individuals. I don't know. That's just my kind of observation. It's not. It may not be accurate.
Well,
It's
no,
like
no, no, that's accurate
Yahiko
because
is
I want
like
to I want to add to that.
okay.
So in the epilogue, Yahiko's 15, and he is given Kenshin's reverse blade sword
He's
as
15.
his initiate. He's 15, yeah. At the very end, at the epilogue.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like at the like the after like I figure he was older, like
Yeah,
at least like 17,
no,
like Sanosuke.
he No, he's 15. They state straight up when you are 15, that is the age where you officially become a samurai, and that's when Kenshin gives Yahiko his reverse blade sword. That was the same age that Kenshin first joined the revolution. So at the beginning of the flashback, Kenshin is the same age as Yahiko is at the very epilogue of the story.
Okay.
So it's almost like yeah, like that passing of the torch moment is literally like Kenshin saying like, "You are a samurai like I was, but you don't have to be like me because you're a samurai of a new era where you don't have to kill people." And that's him giving Yahiko the reverse blade sword as a indication of like Kenshin was kind of like, I had to go through my life killing people until I found this sword and was able to vow to not kill. You're able to inherit the sword from me and live your life from the ground up to from based on what I established. Everything that Kenshin did in the revolution was for Yahiko's generation.
Arguably.
I don't think arguably, I think 100% Kenshin states everything he was doing in the revolution was for the next
Oh
generation. The
no,
reason
I
he was
mean like
killing
that's just what
the
Kenshin would
reason
be
he
like. He'd be like, well, if I could have done it without killing people, I would have. But you know,
but
but
the
no,
reason
what
he was
he
killing was to establish the new world for the next generation because you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
they were just lucky that they had them on their side. for the plot on the good guy side or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know that enough. What I think is interesting though is that like you said, like he made everything for the future generation, and I don't know, like yeah, at a few points we talked about how it could have been the Yaiko show if it was about a different character. Typically Kenshin would be like the Kakashi, and Yaiko would have been the protagonist, and Snowsuke would have been like a cool extra side character.
Hmm.
For a normal shonen series. But it's interesting to have like the apprentice character, you know. But I kind of like how like you said, like it becomes like the whole uh you know okay, here's the thing. Did Yaiko beat Kenshin at the end? Or did they stalemate? Or did Kenshin beat him?
Kenshin won.
Kenshin won? Because it's been a bit. But it's just like, it bothers me to think like they would end it with just Kenshin winning against Yaiko, and then just him being like, "All right, well, you're good enough. Here's my sword." Like, whatever. And I'm not saying like he should like outright beat him, but I mean like I don't know.
Well, Kenshin beats him, and he's like, he gives him the sword, and Yaku's like, "Why are you giving me the sword?" And Kenshin's like, "Because you beating me wasn't the point of this test."
Oh,
Are you pulling off the chapter?
I want to. I had it. I had it like saved for my like actual notes on my phone, but then I realized I
Mm.
can't access my phone right
Mm. Wait, did you put your notes in a Word document or?
now. I like to screenshot certain pages and then write notes on them for
Mm.
like why I like it and stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, honestly, like I don't know, man. Like I guess a lot like you and Billy really like Rurouni Kenshin a lot. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty good. Uh, how come it's so? Like what makes it so close to your heart? And just like why do you like? I don't know. Why do you? What's your thing about?
I just think the storytelling's really good. He Watsuki came out the bat with a very complete character who was broken in certain ways and was trying to find his way in other ways, but was still a very well established presence and was able to further develop his character and give a completion to his arc. With the Rurouni Kenshin story that we see and we experience is almost like an epilogue to this character's arc. Like all of the meat of his story had already happened, and Watsuki was kind of like, let's make this story about this character that's already had these experiences and is trying to deal with them and cope with them. Like everything that happens in Rurouni Kenshin is an epilogue to the Rurouni Kenshin story, and I think that's part of what makes it so interesting. The fact that he decided to make an expansive, detailed, long-running manga about essentially the end of this character's journey.
Yeah, it's kind of like you know, like John Wick is. You're starting in a
Yeah.
later portion of the character's story.
Yeah. There's a slight difference in body count there, but I get what you mean.
Okay, honestly, Kenshin versus John Wick, like that's a weird body count. Like, how many people did Kenshin kill versus John Wick?
I don't think we are ever given a specific number, but
Well, I've only seen the first movie.
you've only seen the first movie,
Yeah.
dude.
Maybe
You're
the
missing
second
out.
one.
Second was really fucking good. The first one has like an incredible beginning and kind of a weak ending, and the second one has like kind of a weak beginning but a really really fucking good ending, and the third one's just kind of solid all the way through.
If Akira Kurosawa did John Wick,
It would probably look like a Johnny Toe movie.
I would love to see like a black and white carousel movie where like the guy goes and just like does all the John Wick stuff, but it's like he pulls out the thing. I don't know. I guess
Anyway,
I can see, but the thing is,
it
I
seems
could kind
like
of see it being like Kenshin, like he'd be like, all right, well, I got all these medals. Where are those from? Oh, well, the government gives me all these gold plates because I killed a bunch of guys. So here you go, Caro. Oh shit. Okay. Can you fix the roof with these? Oh my god, I could. I'm leaving the country with these. I think that would have been
anyway.
hilarious if Kenshin was secretly like super rich. Like the government had like no, like Harry Potter. Like they're like Karo's like the dojo's dilapidated. We need repairs. Then Kenshin's like, well, I guess we could go like talk to the government, whatever. They're like, yeah, well, here you go. Here's like a $10,000. I don't know. I think Kenshin
No.
would have been fun to have a lot of extra side stories to see. I think I really would like to see the world built upon and more his interactions with the town and using his stuff. Maybe a little bit more slice of life, but I do appreciate all the seriousness and all that. But I guess that's my opinion on it. But that was just my view on Kenshin. It's kind of different than your view, where you actually appreciate the serious stuff and all that. But I guess that's where we differed. Is like I like the Oro Kenshin like that. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, I like that Kenshin too,
Yeah.
but I kind of like all sides of the character. I just think he's fascinating.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I think we've probably talked the series to death over the last 3 episodes. Um, yeah, I mean, I made you sit through this like 3 episodes of this series. We've been
Did
talking about it for like a month and a
Did you
half.
say you made
So
me?
yeah, that's exactly what I said. Um, but yeah, so next series is yours. Whatever you want to do.
You know what? It'll be a mystery episode.
Mystery
Yeah,
episode. All
I'm
right,
not gonna answer it right now. We could even edit it in. I'll just pop on and be like, so the next episode will be
Sakamoto Days.
insert Sakamoto Days here. Yeah, all right.
I don't know, but anyway, thanks for doing this with me. I know I was bugging you about it. I'm glad we talked about it. I was itching to talk about
I'm
it.
just sorry. I'm just sorry, like like how you felt about Jujutsu Kaisen, and I hope you don't feel like this was like revenge for that. It was just like I liked Rurouni Kenshin coming up, same as like Yu Yu Hakusho. Like I considered them like equals, and now I'm just like, all right, maybe I didn't like Rurouni Kenshin as much, or I don't know what was about it. I did like it, but I was like, I guess I just didn't pick up on the same stuff as you. I don't know. Oh,
Yeah, I think it was tickling a nerve for me that it didn't really for you. Like I just intuitively kind of understand the story.
yeah, you put on Starscream's death from like Transformers Armada, and my daughter will be like, "Why is Dad crying?" And that's a dumb toy getting hit by a laser. I'll be like, "You don't understand, man." Like,
So are we doing Transformers next for read the
no,
manga?
we can't do that. It's technically a comic book through, yeah. But no, honestly, I recommend to you folks if you went through all this to listen to it and you haven't tried it, you should read the manga.
All right. Yeah,
Zach has
but you should also
Zach probably has a better
watch.
ending line than me. Yeah.
I was gonna say you should watch the anime, check out the live action series, watch the OVA, and read the audiobooks. But overall, you should probably read the manga.
Yeah, that dude honestly, as much as he was self-deprecate, as much as he talked shit on himself, he probably made out pretty good after all the extra shit that was made after his one series.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, folks.
Anyway,
I'll
have a good night.